Ghana team so wonderful snow my science so atenase biom ensem ekoso ewo oman ni mu ene amanone ebusafo ni nyina wonsa ebeka ewo ana etempa so no yebo eyura ensem mu na yahwe nia ekoso na nyamede enam this time round ene se ye survey ena survey no ede abase in South Africa de ba ne ka ye de bipa ye de amefo ka na China force ye de omoka na busianfo ene ye ka se ene Africa continent here was countries are here no more the China for the most indebted country to China, African country to China na ebusianfo ye fa top 10 we have 54 countries in Africa na ebusianfo ye fa chart na top 10 no ene na ebusianfo ade bia me amenije ye pan se eni se Ghana de ekofo bi na complain so man Ghana e ka ye se chon eya se nketo ade bia ye de ka de bia ye de ka yakwa IMF yakwa jiska ye de IMF ka ye kwa before beje IMF sika ne kra no omo se ye de ka overdue nti enya ade omo ma sika no ansa na kasa na ye nya na ebusianfo luckily no top 10 no Ghana ye di Ghana ye se Ghana ya top chart no ya rank first say oman ye ndi China kano Ghana ye kan wo but this is very good na osha omo dey survey by say according to IMF no within some few years to come Africa ebe boost but because of a car America dey China nti one share na prevent growth no ewo African continent. Yes, say top 10 African countries indebted to China. Indeed, the countries they are indebted to China. So obviously there have been concerns as the external debt of the most African countries have maintained an increase over the years, towering over their economic growth. So the International Monetary Fund has projected that by 2024, African countries' economy will grow at 40%, making it the second fastest growing economic region in the world after Asia. Wow. That is so interesting and good to know. That is also interesting. So that is what a survey is saying. Say yeah, Africa economy it will by the end of 2024 it will grow by 4%, which will make it the second fastest growing economy in the world after Asia. So I'm saying this projection, however, is strengthened by the continent's ever increasing debt. Data from the World Bank shows that 12% of the debt burden on the African continent is owed to China and Chinese leaders. We are going to dive into the 10 countries who owe China. So I'm saying top 10 African countries indebted to China. The countries, then we'll look at the amount. In the first, Angola. Angola for China for $20.98 billion. Angola's $20.98 billion debt to China primarily accumulated through loans of rebuilding its infrastructure after the nation's civil war. China's interest in Angola's oil sector has also seen the global lender exchange loans for oil shipments. So we say for as a war on come day. So they say war you have to be yes Ghana for mom ko ye war bia bia. 82nd country no Ethiopia. Almost America $6.82 billion. I'm saying the Ethiopian government is about $6.82 billion in debt to China. The funds have been heavily invested in the country's projects like the Addis Ababa's Djibouti railway and various industrial parks to boost economic growth and industrialization. So that is why they are owing China. And and the third one is Kenya. Kenya for Edeka $6.69 billion. The growth of Kenya's infrastructure project has been independent on China. Kenya owes China $6.69 billion, part of which was slated for the construction of infrastructure like the standard gauge railway intended to enhance connectivity and trade within East Africa. na face ye free Kenya na ye call Zambia. Zambia for China forecast $6.8 billion. Zambia's debt to China at $6.8 billion is majority targeted for mining and infrastructure projects. Zambia, rich in copper resource, has been significant Chinese investment in its mining sector. In Tibusian and at the fifth one, Egypt. Egypt for a year China forecast $5.21 billion. So see, Egypt debt to China stands at $5.21 billion and has been instrumental to the development and construction of several infrastructure and energy projects, including the new administrative capital. Wow, that is so interesting. You call the set one Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria almost $4.29 billion. Nigeria's $4.29 billion debt to China is primarily to infrastructure projects such as railways, highways, and power plants. As of June 2022, Nigeria's debt to China accounted for 83.57% of the country's total bilateral debt. Wow, that is so interesting. And Nigeria for the Nitiate. And 7 no Côte d'Ivoire $3.9 billion. The government of Côte d'Ivoire has over the years enjoyed a mutual business presence with the Chinese government. Just like other African countries, China has played a huge role in rebuilding Côte d'Ivoire's economy after the devastating COVID-19 pandemic, well, meaning that Ghana is really doing well. And as for my Ghana, and up into the 8th on the list, Cameroon, almost $3.8 billion. Like other economically distressed African countries, Cameroon continues to turn to China for loans for infrastructure projects. China is in 2019 granted Cameroon debt forgiveness with about $78 million to help the Central African country ease economic hardship. And after 9th, Republic of Congo, $3.4 billion. Congo has been a long-standing partner with China in industrial development and the loans have played a large part in financing the country's project. Congo's new highway project, National Route 1 and National Route 2 were financed by loans from China. And then the last but not the least, that is South Africa. Wow, South Africa for the China car. And I say me critical. So I'm saying South Africa owes $3.4 billion. The South African government has largely depended on Chinese loans over the years for developmental projects and especially for the operations of its largest parastatal. After so Chinese lending has, however, declined sharply since it peaked massively in 2016 at $28.4 billion. As of 2022, the loans dropped to $9,995 million, the lowest since 2004, showing a slight deviation from China's decade-long big-ticket infrastructure spree on the continent. So finally, we've come to the end of the chart. We've seen the countries are on Mother China. Fortunately for Ghana, no, count. It was with me. Comment, comment section. I measure bread. I can Ghana chips. Wonderful slowly. It was for